Okay, so I'm going to just fire some questions at each and every one of you. There will be an opportunity perhaps at the end as well to have some more questions because we have some industry experts here. But my first question actually goes to Klaus. And obviously, Klaus, coming from a European real estate background, what are the main differences between real estate here in Dubai and abroad, and what can we learn from these other markets in terms of regulation?
I think regulations on one side are not all. What we need here is more, how I should say this, a normality in the market. I give you a sample what I mean. When I make a sale in Germany, for example, I go to a client, he knows he have to pay me, in this case, 3% seller commission. He's signing me all the papers, he show me all the documents. This is normal. So he will not ask me, which we heard before, no, we not sign something, no, we not pay you commission. Why I should pay commission? I go to 30 other brokers, and so on. So what I mean is we need a more normal market here. By the way, this is not only for sellers, it's also for buyers, and also especially for agents. This is very, very important. So we have to work here more to get a matured market. Everybody talking about Dubai get matured, but not matured, in my opinion, not only means the prices. Matured also means how people acting in the market when they're buying and selling properties. Real estate is not a stock market. It's a long-term investment, what many, many people, it seems, forget.
I'm going to turn now to Daniel and just turn it a little bit more from an online point of view. How do you feel the online property portals have changed, if at all, since you were appointed CEO of MasterKey more than 5 years ago?
What we've seen from the property portals, when we look internationally, we see that real estate markets are usually controlled either by real estate agents and the real estate associations, or they're controlled by the property portals. We've seen this in North America, where it's controlled by the agents, and Australia and England, where it's controlled by the property portals. So in Dubai, the portals have definitely improved over the last 5 years. I think they've done a wonderful job. They've organized your data, they've organized location names, they've put scoring systems in place, they track reveals, leads generated, and they've also built mobile apps, which is very good in the market. So I think they've become an indispensable gateway for brokers to access leads and to access the market. And when we compare that in 2010 or a little bit earlier in 2008, I've spoken to a few different agencies, a few different large agencies that we have, that they spent over 100,000 dirhams, 100,000 plus, on newspaper ads in 2008. And you compare that today with spending about 75 to 80,000 per month on property portals. And the difference really is that you now can track those leads, you can now track the reveals, you have more information and more insight. So I think they've done a fantastic job. I think they've actually done a good job. They have got more expensive. In particular, in the last couple of years, I don't know if everyone else feels this, but Dubizzle.com, it's definitely picked up in the last couple of years on its real estate focus. They've really put a lot of effort into the real estate focus. So I think they've done a very good job there.
So do you think we actually get value for money?
I think that's something that you have to calculate on a per property basis or property portal basis. So you can't just say that Dubizzle's value for money. Dubizzle certainly generates a lot of leads, but what's the cost per lead for Dubizzle? And what's the cost per lead for Property Finder? What's the cost per lead for each of the different property portals? So you have to really, that's the fundamental number that you have to come down to be able to compare the portals.
But I keep hearing them saying, oh yeah, you do great, your click-through rate is fantastic, your stats are fabulous. But I look at, well, what leads do I get? Who picked up the phone? I mean, is it just their online speak to try and bamboozle us a little bit here, or what?
You know, in the end, you have to use your own knowledge of what leads have come in. You might have a lot of reveals, but, and when I say reveal, it's when they reveal the phone number to a potential buyer. Those don't always result in actual leads. And what are the quality of the leads that are coming through? So you need to be able to track it right from a property portal all the way through to a transaction and be able to say how much money am I generating from a particular portal and how much money am I spending with that portal. So you have to connect the whole chain before you can really have a good understanding of which portal is better.
Okay. You run a large real estate company and a successful one. What are the challenges you face, and what changes would you like to see to help achieve your goals?
There are many challenges out there, and I think a lot of fellow people who are running their business, they would agree. But I'll pick four that are really out there and we are really facing a lot of problems with. Is number one, which is the most critical, is retaining agents. As a big real estate, we go through a lot of recruiting, we qualify people, we train them. They come in, you provide them with everything they need, and then somebody else comes and takes them. I know that UAE labor law has contributed to this in terms of giving a ban if you don't finish your tenure, but there are loopholes. You go around it, and then they put a higher position, they put a higher salary, even if it is not the reality, and then they take your agents. So this is one big problem we're facing. The second one I would say is, somebody already tapped on this, is exclusivity listings. I think there should be a mandate by DLD or RERA saying that you have to have, the seller should be told that, okay, you cannot just go and list your properties with 100 agents. If you list it with not one, but at least 3 or 4, and then it's up to us, real estate agents, to up our game and gain the contract, go after the listing. This way, it's going to be quality listing. We're going to spend a lot of time making it look good instead of having 60,000 available properties that really look horrifying in all the portals. So when I have an exclusivity listings, I'm going to make sure that pictures look great, description is really what the property is, and I'm going to focus on selling that property instead of having to fight with 100 brokers on they're diluting the price or they are mispresenting the property and they're just giving headache to the sellers. So I don't see why the sellers don't really prefer to go with exclusivity over having it listed with, many agents. The other point is small real estate companies. I have a lot of fellow agents who are friends. They have started their business, they're doing great. They come with great experience, we're not talking about those. I'm talking about small firms that come with investors who own 50, 60 units, and they choose to open their real estate because they also want that commission to their pocket. That's just it shouldn't be the case. Someone who's gonna do real estate should be a broker who wants to do it as a career and not just as a short-term plan to gain some more money other than the premium and your profit gain. So some of those real estate basically go and cut their commissions. They are willing to cut the commissions down to just take the deal away from the big brokers. This is this is a reality. If anyone has any objection, please tell me. They're willing to take 1% and do the deal. I am not willing to cut my commission because this is what I do for a living. I spend on marketing, I spend on my brand, I go out there, I go the extra mile, so why should I take less than what I deserve? As it is internationally, the markets are taking higher than just 2%, but we're okay with that. But other really small firms come and say, okay, I'll do it for 1, I'll do it for 0.5, I'll do it for whatever, just less, just to get the deal done through them.
But those are market forces. It's very tough to actually be able to
legislate. These are
those.
really challenges that are out there. The other thing I would urge the land department to start doing is when it's time to transfer the property, we should have, when they ask for the check for the seller and the check for the transfer, they should also ask, where's the check for the broker? Because we are registered brokers.
Well done.
We are registered companies. We do this, again, for a living, and we want to take it really decades. So we have afterwards to chase the sellers or the buyers for our commissions. Not only that, if they refuse, let's say they refuse to pay, if I go to RERA and try to approach them and say, listen, this deal has been done, and they haven't paid the commission, they can't do nothing. They can't block the property. There is no way to block it because it's already transferred. Second thing, they say go to court, bring me court. Then I have to go to civil courts and I have to, it's just non-ending. It's just if you ask at the time of transaction, where is the check of the broker? that'll make things easy for everybody, I believe. So these are 4 main challenges. I'm sure there are hundreds.
We could have a whole seminar just on that, couldn't we?
Yeah.
So well
I
done,
can go
Dunya.
on, Mario.
I'm sure, I
have
know.
no
Well,
problem.
listen, I want to ask Klaus perhaps to explain what is it that we as companies, as brokers are doing to try and get a voice to RERA, to try and get RERA to understand our frustrations. I'm talking about the Capital Club now, but if you can explain what that is and what we're doing, please.
I understand. Yeah, I wanted to add something here. The problem is what I mentioned in your first question. It's a normality. It's a normality of how people seeing the brokerage business in this country. It's the same. The sellers jump in and out. The same as the brokers jumping in and out. You know, you see here brokers running around in t-shirt, in jeans, in sneakers. They make today a deal. The funny thing is, I not complain to these brokers. I complain in the end to the companies we're working for, and especially I complain to people who are dealing with this kind of brokers. And it seems they're all surviving. Be honest, 80% of the brokers here in this country, they're all dreaming. They're dreaming from the fast bucks, they're dreaming from the Porsche, they're dreaming from Ferrari, what they want to buy. They spend already this money, but they're not earning money. You can only earn in this industry really money when you're breathing real estate, when you're living real estate, when you're in this job in. And now to come to your question, this is exactly the point also which we have with RERA. We have too many brokers in the market. This is a fact. Too many companies here. And when the market going up, you can see that there's a dramatically increase of brokerage companies suddenly in the market. When the market goes down, suddenly they disappear. Before they've done a brokerage business, now they're doing a restaurant. We have thousands of samples of this in the past. I do this now here 11 years, and we saw so many people that deal today with as a broker. Tomorrow they have a restaurant, and after this they're selling cars, whatever. So
they're diversifying their business.
Yeah, maybe. But this is exactly what's spoiling our industry. And now comes RERA and start to make regulations here. We have many regulations, but very honest speaking, what helps us the regulation when the market not observing this? You know, our problem is RERA can tell us brokers 100,000 times we need a Form A, but what helps us when the client not signing it? And we have many people, they're asking us, yeah, where this is written? Is this a law? I said, yes, it's a law. Yeah, where it's written? I said, nowhere. But RERA wants this. So, as soon RERA not acting here more hard, especially not against broker only, which is good, but also against seller and buyers, to force them to bring this documentation on board, to force professional real estate companies to act more professional, starting in the dress code, ending with trainings, what we just learned. It's the same problem we have. We're educating brokers, and then they said, this costs money. So I can't pay brokers 80%, 100% in the market. Okay. Companies who are doing this, they're jeopardizing themselves, in my opinion, because let them have one legal case, and they're out. But what we can do is, as a brokers in the market, we were starting now to we founded a roundtable. So we called it the Capital Club Connection, or however you want to call it. What we want to build up is, let's say, with a handful of very strong brokerage companies, well-known companies, to build up a kind of association where we dealing not against RERA. Don't get me wrong, we want to deal with RERA together to change here many things on the market. Because we have to start, in my opinion, at first with ourselves as a broker.
But the problem that we have and what we've heard is that RERA says that there are thousands of brokers out there all shouting at RERA. And that they're not listening. Why? Because everyone's shouting at the same time. Now, it's in its infancy. But slowly, we are getting in with people, with engineer Marwan bin Galita, also the head of the DIFC. We have lawyers on board as well. So we'll be able to put questions and say, look, we have this situation that we cannot get this form signed, and we need you to do X, Y, Z. So slowly, these things are happening. It is taking time.
It is together, brokers, all real estate entities, if it is brokers or property management or developers, DLD, RERA, everybody should come together and try to form or evolve and get things done, because we can keep having this and giving our voice and saying, okay, we need, but what we are trying to do is we are trying to give our experiences, put them all on the table, and then pick what is a priority to be solved immediately, and then take it forward and saying, okay, these are the challenges we're facing. How can we work it out? This is exactly what we are trying to achieve out of this.
And I think that this is what we have to realize as well, is that this isn't the first time that the real estate organizations have come together to try to work together. There was in 2005, 2006, Dubai Property Group, which turned into Dubai Property Society. And that was exactly the point, was to bring together everyone into a association or to talk together to address the issues and then to approach the government with those issues. But I think that there's three components that need to come together for this to actually work. We were very supportive of DPS, or Dubai Property Society, back in 2006, 2007. But what we saw is that the laws back then were not in place. The government was not in place to actually allow this to happen. So there's three components. One is the government and the laws, which I say today is in place. We actually have great support from RERA. They want to improve the market. I think that's actually in place. The second thing that was in place in 2006 but isn't in place today is the real estate agents getting together and actually forming an association and agreeing on the terms. The third component is exactly what a lady brought up over here, which was the multi-listing system. So we actually need the multi-listing system to be able to detect the duplication for Form A's, to prevent the duplication for Form A's. So what we did at Master Key is we decided to run the numbers. So I said, how much is this actually costing us as a real estate group, as real estate professionals? How much is duplicate listings costing us? And we used different numbers. We looked at the problem a couple different ways. We tried top down, bottom up, etc. We came to the total of this is conservatively costing us 1 billion dirhams every year in wasted time. So as far as I'm concerned, we have among us a 1 billion dirham problem that we have to address. And I'm happy to sit down and share the numbers and go through with everybody the different numbers that we had on this. But we looked at lost time, the additional marketing expenses, the company overheads that are being wasted. It's mostly time spent just dealing with duplicate listings or time spent doing showings that are just a waste of time. So I think that if the real estate agents today can come together, we've got a point now where the technology is ready, the government is ready, and now I think, Mario, you're doing a few things to help with this, but bringing the agents together so that we can start to collectively lobby particular laws and particular changes that have to happen in the market.
Listening to Ali, Mr. Al-Ali there, he was talking about the classifications. I just wanted to ask both Dunya and also Klaus, do you really think that this is actually going to help us? I mean, obviously it's going to start first of all as a company point of view, and then it will become an individual. But I mean, the gentleman over there actually said, well, what about the off-plan market, for example? I mean, immediately my company wouldn't be a gold one and I would strive to be gold. But what do you think?
As an initiative, it is something good that we needed, because for so long, all brokers had cards and they were wondering, what are these cards for? Because when you go, it's not really, I mean, your transaction is not registered under your name. A lot of things were not done. So now it's the time, and it's a great time for the market because of the dynamics of whatever the Dubai is achieving right now. It is very good. It's never too late to regulate. So what we can do, what we can learn from this is we have to, ourselves as brokerage, we have to start organizing our offices as in our business. Our brokers, they have to comply. I mean, they have to be more careful now than they can't just be all, I mean, they have to take care of their clients, customer service. This will help tremendously. And everything is related to customer service. The repeated business is the best business you can have. So I think this system will allow that. It will, however, take a long time for everything to come into place. Like the gentleman mentioned, the off plans, yes, where are those sales going? Those are also sales, transactions. The broker has worked hard to convince the buyers, so they need to be registered. Klaus mentioned to Mr. Ali the leasing. When a broker is just doing leasing, that's also brokerage service. So that also needs to be maybe through Ijari, they can have it. Every registered tenancy contract can give points or credit to the agent. It will take time, but I believe it's good.
So broadly, you're in favor of it?
I encourage this
Good.
step.
Klaus,
Definitely.
what do you think?
I have some my doubts. I can tell you why. Because what I saw now in the presentation, I came a bit late, but what I understood, it's mainly focusing on the quantity and not on the quality of deals. You know, who say today, we have the sample, who doing today
No, but
200
they said
deals.
it's the value. No, they said the value of the deal.
Also
Is
not.
it?
Look,
Yeah?
I know brokers in the market. They are very specific brokers. They have a handful of clients, and they're doing fantastic good jobs. They have fantastic good knowledge, but they will never ever show up here.
No, but
And,
there was, if you do things bad, you get negative points as well. So obviously there's certain things that you have to do. But I mean, I take your point that the level of service is important. But I guess that brings it down to the more of our own level as not so as owners of companies, but to make sure that your team is actually giving the
Yes,
service.
it's more of it's
It's
our
a-
role now to regulate the.
It
to
things,
make-
And I think
what
with
I totally
any-
agree with you. It will need a long time now
Yes.
that these things get really established in the market. Because again, it is not only sales. It's not only we have much more services as a broker to offer to clients when we work in a professional way. And ethical standards, for example, is very important. And so where this is showing up in the system, it's good. Once again, I'm not against the system. What I saw, it sounds good, but I have a bit the feeling like this app, which you can see now, the best brokers, where we discussed before. In the moment, I don't see that is really a practical.
But
Yeah,
we all-
there's
we-
ways. Sorry, there's ways to game any system. I think that's the point. You know, if you focused, put all of your transactions going to one agent, you could make that the best agent in Dubai using that scoring system. But I think from the government, it's definitely a good initiative, and I think that from the broker's side as well, we also need to have an internal scoring system of agent-to-agent deals. So how is this agent rated from other agents in their interactions, in their everything from transactions to just showing a listing. So I think we should add to that and use it as one of our numbers.
We should support it by regulating ourselves because we also get a little bit drifted. We have a lot of business coming in. We just have to increase our standards just to meet whatever the scores they require, but then it's going to take time. It might not be accurate initially, but it will become. Because right now the app, like we mentioned, there are a lot of companies who use conveyance officers. So those conveyance officers only know the paperwork. If you get them out there on the field, they can't sell a property. So that doesn't make them the best broker. But that's how some companies are running now. They have to change their way of running their business and meet with the requirements.
I think the main point is here, Dunya, also what we discussed before. We need an association to help the land department, RERA, to set some the measurements. As you just said, I come from not only European background, I was working in the States, I was working in Singapore, now I'm in Dubai, and long time in Europe. So the point is we can mix a lot of things. But again, the thing's not starting with such a score system. It will start with ethical standards. It will start with education and the understanding of each broker itself, how he's working in the market, how he's acting in the market.
I think it's very easy to criticize, but I think we should actually applaud the fact that they are doing something about it.
Definitely,
and, you know, it's very easy to sit here and say, oh yeah, but they don't take into consideration this, they don't do that. We have to start somewhere. You've got to remember, guys, that our property market is, 10, 12 years old. It's still infant,
market,
which is why I'm saying, you know, what can we learn from other countries? But like I said in my opening remarks, it's not a copy and paste. You know, we have to take what works and try it. Sometimes it will work and sometimes it won't. Conscious of time, I just wanted to bring Daniel back in. Daniel, you talked... Yeah. Can you give me just 5 minutes and then I'm going to ask questions from the audience. And I'm glad, Kalpesh, that you're here because keep that. 1 second. No, because I did promise Daniel. Can you exactly explain what this airlist.com is and how how actually it's going to help us. I mean, you've got a lot of notes there saying how much time and money we waste. How is it going to improve our lives?
Sure, I'll be glad to. So just to give you a little bit of background on MasterKey, we've over the years, we've done a lot of firsts, and we've been involved in a lot of the innovation in the market. We were the first company to put listings online. Back in 2004, we were the first company to actually take real estate listings, put them online. We created the first sharing platform in 2009. We created the multi-listing system last year. We launched as EMLS in 2014. So we're talking about a multi-listing system. We launched it a year ago, actually in 2014. And airlist.com is kind of the latest initiative and the latest innovation. And it is essentially removing any of the barriers that any of the small agents have to using a system to publish listings. So airlist.com is a free listing tool that puts your listing on currently 65 different property portals. Okay, so this is something that is kind of our gift to the real estate market, to allow everyone to get organized, use a system, and be able to standardize a lot of the location data and a lot of the information. We launched in March. So far we have 26,000 listings that have been entered into the system. We have 1,300 agents who have signed up to try it. As I said, 65 different property portals. But underneath the exterior of just a simple listing tool, it's actually a multi-listing system. So this is, from our experience of 11 years in this market, building a multi-listing system that works here. What we found is even in 2006, 2007, we tried to take US systems and bring them across, and I'm Canadian, we tried to bring Canadian systems across. They didn't work here because of the addressing system and the challenges that we have with the addressing system. So what we've done with airlist.com is it's the foundation for a multi-listing system. It's an open platform. You could use any different software. You could use whatever different software you're using. You could use MasterKey, it doesn't matter. And basically we can pull all of those listings together, and we can start to do things like detect duplication and eliminate this, what we've seen is a billion dirham problem.
Perfect.
I wanted to start off with Klaus's comment that it's not just the quantity but the quality. Klaus, I agree completely, but I think there has to be a start somewhere. And I mean, if you have classifications which will rank the different agencies, it will make the client let the client make an informed decision. If there is a rating of general, he goes into it further and finds somebody below 50. That's just not at par. So I think they will be able to start selecting that the bronze, silver, or gold ones are the ones who are adhering to RERA's regulations. They are complying much more and are far more client-oriented. Secondly, to Dunia's point about the manager's check, of course, absolutely. RERA needs to do this ASAP with a humble request for everybody. Has to be done. Brilliant idea. Lastly, I need to refer back to my notes because I had a third question. Sorry. I think in terms of education, it's very important for the broker community to get educated. I agree completely, Klaus and Daniel, I think. But I also think the owners need to be educated. I think for an owner to turn around in this day and age, 10 years after we are into the freehold market, and say, I will not sign a Form A, or I will not send an email confirming my pricing, I think RERA needs to come out with a system whereby they start fining them. 1,000 dirhams only will do it. It doesn't need to be anything extravagant, but we need to have a system in place where owners cannot start doing this, refusing to confirm what their price is, change it every second, third day, etc. I'm an owner. I know how this happens too, but it should just not happen to agents. Yes. And I think if it's followed systematically by RERA, if they will put this process in place, owners will start falling into line and sign every single time. And to add to it, not list with 100 brokers. I don't think we can restrict them to 3 or 4, but have, say, 10 max. You can just not list with more than 5, 10, whatever
exactly,
it is.
yeah.
Can I answer that one? The first time you go to add your listing, whether you're putting in the contract for Form A or if you're just adding your listing into your system, if at that point it detected that there was another listing which was the exact same property based on the title deed number or based on the Makani number or whatever system that you had, addressing system, then you could say to you could help enforce that with the owner right in front of them. You could say, I can see you've already listed this with this other agency. You know what? And then it's up to the agent to decide what to do. And that's where we'd like to have the association.
I think you're absolutely right, Daniel, but that would only work for an exclusive property. If there is a property which is not exclusively signed by an owner, you won't be able to catch it at that point in time.
Right.
So we still need to figure how that would work, but I think all of these steps are really absolutely positive, and we need to really start with the owners very, very quickly. Effective Jan 1st, perhaps.
Thanks.
Implemented. 1,000 dirhams per owner refusing to sign a Form A.
I think right now we have Form A's, Form B's, and Form F. That's what stands out, right? But I would come to a point where my recent holiday in the US just moved something that offers. When a client calls me and gives me an offer, and I go to the seller and I say, here is the offer, and the seller says, oh no, but I wanted 200,000 more. I think this is a very common scenario. Or both cases, but let's not just blame the seller. Let's go back. When you say you do your best, you do your job, you convince the seller to reduce his price or to agree to whatever the price was agreed on, and you go back to the buyer and buy, oh, sorry, but I changed my mind.
But
In the US, they have, or in the international market, they have offer paper. You sign as a buyer on your offer. And then you take it forward to the seller, and the seller countersigns that offer. You cannot just go back and say, okay, now seller agrees, oh, sorry, but I changed my mind. And the other problem we have is proof of funds. It's just, we can't ask for proof of funds, or you can't have any proof of funds from any buyer you have. I mean, a buyer comes to you, on the phone, I have a budget of 3 million, I would like to buy. Can you provide me proof of fund? Oh, no, I can't. Or it's just, there is no, we have to get somewhere to that point. I know I'm very ambitious here, but we need to get there somehow.
Like I said at the beginning, we have to applaud the fact that we have got some things in place. And a bit like Kalpesh said, you know, nothing is perfect. But then when we look back what happened in 2006 and 2007 and 2008, you know, laws changed. I mean, before, developers could launch a building without even owning the land. Now there's certain things in place. So we have to say thank you for that. It's not perfect, but it's getting there. But you were talking about in other places, England, for example, they have offer letters, but they can change their mind up until exchange of contracts. Here, once the contract is signed, once the MOU or the Form F is signed, that is binding. So the time to change your mind is limited here. So actually that is better in some respects. Whereas in England, it can take 2 months before you can get an exchange of contracts. And in that time, a lot could happen. So there are things that we do here very well, and there are things that we can learn to do better. But I think the important thing is that these initiatives are in place. And I'm playing a bit of devil's advocate a little bit here by saying, you know, do we agree with it? Is it good? Of course, yes. I want to see it perfect. It's never going to be perfect. And there will always be the people that will undercut you. There will always be the person down the street who will say, I can do it cheaper because I only have one light bulb to light in the day as opposed to the whole shebang that we have here, for example. So horses for courses. This is market forces, and you cannot change that. You just have to be better. You have to make sure your team is better and do the training and hope that the people recognize that. And yes, it's going to take time, but...
You know, that people understand in the market what they have to sign, what the broker bring on the table, and they have to accept it. You know, this is exactly the point. And for sure, also the education, how a company educate and trains their brokers to get this signature. This is not easy, and 89%, I guess, in this market of brokerage companies, they not want to educate the people because they don't know it by themselves. So you have to go and to sit with the people, explain to them what is exclusive listing, what is the sole listing, and. So, and this not happened. This is the opposite also again. But I think we have to also to educate with the support of RERA, the seller and the buyer here.
Of course. For sure. Over here.
Good afternoon, my name is Emil and I am from US, Florida, and I think this is the time that you should, it is instead of question, I encourage you to, it is the time, now is the time. I was asking, is this the largest real estate event in Dubai? I was told yes. So it is now the time for you, all real estate professionals, to find a common voice and find a leader within you and really start the Real Estate Dubai Association. Why you wait and why the market? You need to do that professional things and represent yourself as a professional, as somebody who creates value. So please don't wait and do it.
Well, we are definitely working towards that, aren't we?
We initiated that already, and we cannot just go. We have to strategize ourselves, do proper planning. Like I said, there are a lot of points to study and a lot of problems that we have. So we cannot just go and flood RERA with all of them. We have to prioritize them. Sorry about that.
And we offer our support as well from a technical standpoint. So
there are a lot of concerns in the market, whether it's from the brokers, from the sellers, even from the clients. I mean, if they haven't seen something wrong, they wouldn't really not want to sign, or they have seen the market dynamics, they have seen things change, so they're being cautious as well. So we're trying to bring that serenity and that professionalism to the table so they can comply basically with the peace of mind and not feeling that they have to do it, you know.
I'm afraid we've come to the end of this panel, so I'd just like to say thank you very much to our distinguished guests.